Good afternoon. You're watching Businessworld Live. I'm Jess Delos Santos. Let's take a look at how the local bourse closed today, Tuesday. All right, local shares finally managing to stage a comeback today. That's after 2 straight days of declines here. The index today climbed by 0.6% to 6,500. This is vaccine czar Carlito Galvez assured the arrival of some 14 million vaccine doses in the second quarter, with a million coming from Sinovac's CoronaVac and some 500,000 from Gamaleya before the month ends. In addition to that, you have, of course, the FDA as well granting emergency use approval for Janssen Pharmaceuticals and Bharat for their vaccines. Despite that, though, net foreign selling persisting for the 13th straight day with net sales at 487 million pesos. Now, Regina Capital's Luis Limlingan said investors are choosing to pile up on U.S. stocks following strong earnings from their blue chips and sound economic data, which somehow signals recovery. But that has been losing momentum, though. Foreign outflows slowed in the past week with 5-day moving average now at $12.5 million from the 20-day moving average of $14.1 million in outflows. Looking at the local bourse, though, advancers outnumbering decliners here. 106 stocks gained today, while 84 were in the red. Over in the main index, pretty much a mixed picture as well. You have your consumer-related stocks leading the charge here for the main index here. The URC is up by 5.3% to 132 pesos and 20 centavos a piece. Pure Gold likewise edging higher here, 3.2% to 37 pesos and 45 centavos a share. That's after the Pala, citing NEDA, said that average inflation for 2021 may come in at 3.8%. That is if pork supply rises through imports, with meat's contribution expected to fall to 0.8 percentage points from 1.2. Now, BSP, of course, recall last month raised their forecast for average inflation this year to 4.2% from the original target of 2 to 4%. Now, one other stock, though, that we have to be keeping an eye on is Globe. It's joining the rally across the main index here after it said in its annual report that they were able to at least construct 318 cell sites in the first quarter alone. That's up 152% from what they built in the same period last year. High-speed lines also rose 212% to 287,000. Wireless expansion also accelerated by 245%. They're putting in a capex of 70 billion pesos for this year. Not only that, some changes as well. You have your Isa Guevara Cabrera. She has been named as Globe's Chief Commercial Officer. Now, after that bit of development here, you can see here Globe at least ending the day in the green, up 0.75% to 1,864 apiece. Now, here are other headlines we're keeping our eyes on. The Philippine Star reports that total projects approved by the Board of Investments rose 66% in the first quarter year-on-year. Trade Undersecretary Separino Rodolfo says that's equivalent to 138 billion pesos worth of projects as of March versus the 83 billion pesos in the same period last year. With the recent signing of the CREATE law, Rodolfo is encouraging Chinese firms to invest in the Philippines. He pitched the idea to members of the Chinese Enterprises Philippines Association in a briefing last April 15. The official urged CEPA members, especially those engaged in infrastructure, equipment manufacturing, construction, and IT, to expand their businesses in the country. For his part, CEPA President Deng Jun said Chinese businessmen remain committed in the Philippines through stronger business partnerships with local players. Now, the Science and Technology Department is planning to bring in more virologists to start research on local production of COVID-19 vaccines. Speaking with Cito Beltran on agenda, DOST Undersecretary Rowena Guevara admitted that there is a lack of vaccine development research in the Philippines, which is why we have yet to produce our own vaccines even against common diseases. Through the Balik Scientist Program, the department plans to attract Filipino scientists working abroad to return to the country to start R&D on vaccines. Guevara added that even if more virologists come to the Philippines, the earliest that they could build a vaccine plant is in 2022. All right, speaking of manufacturing vaccines locally, Glovax Biotech is eyeing to start its form, fill, and finish operations for COVID 19 shots in the Philippines come 2022. Now, to talk more about that, we have their CEO, Giovanni Alingog. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon to you and to all of your viewers.
Okay, if I'm not mistaken, Giovanni, Glovax primarily is in the business of vaccine distribution. What changed this time and what gives you confidence that you can now manufacture?
Yes, because we have been distributing vaccines for the longest time and we have experienced shortages, even of the common vaccines, because we are not familiar with manufacturing in our country, especially during the H1N1 swine flu pandemic in 2009 and 2010. At that time, only 1 million doses reached out to the Philippines. So because of that experience, we planned that we should be able to have a local vaccine plant as well. And we have been pushing this ever since. And this time, we will be able to hopefully start building it this October.
Okay, October this year. But of course, this primarily is about this COVID 19 vaccine being developed by Korea. That's UCORVAC 19. What is the current status on that one? I believe you are in the third stage of trials. Is that correct?
Yes, we have this trial being done, phase 1 and phase 2 in Korea. And we are also applying for a clinical trial locally. This is to show that we are confident and that we have a very good result in Korea. That's why we're doing it locally as well, to show also that this is also good for Filipino ethnicity. The reason behind is that some of the vaccines that been invented has been tested in other countries, and we would like to also test it in our country.
Okay, give us first an idea. In Korea, like what you mentioned, trials for UCORVAC is already at phase 2. So, given that, when are you planning, or when is your partner, your Korean partner, U Biologics, planning to start their stage 3 trials?
Well, it's a step-by-step process. So immediately after phase 2, wherein they expect it should be happening around July, that they should be already applying for a clinical trial phase 3. And while they're applying for clinical phase 3, like what other vaccine manufacturers have done worldwide, they would also in parallel apply for the emergency use authorization, or EUA.
Okay. I just want to check if you can still hear me, Sir Giovanni. Is there?
Yeah, yes, I can hear.
All right, all right. Okay, like what you mentioned, you are planning at least that by July you're going to start stage 3 trials. How many participants are you eyeing for this one?
Basically, it's by the thousands of people for clinical trial. I'm just not so allowed to say how many. But if you will compare it to other companies that already have done clinical trial, it's about more than 20,000 people across the Philippines or even across the world. That's what they have been doing in the past.
Now, also, like what you mentioned earlier, planning to at least start clinical trials here in the Philippines. Do you have a specific timeline for that? Do you have a target population as well?
Yes, for our phase 2, we are targeting to apply 3 days from now, or April 23rd.
hmm And that is going to at least cover how many participants, sir?
The for phase 2, it's actually a platform to platform clinical trial. So it's a comparator test wherein we are going to test our product, which is UCORVAC 19 from Korea, and it was also developed in the US. And we will compare that with those products that are already being used in our country. That's why it's a platform to platform comparator tests. So there will be around 250 participants for this trial.
Okay. Now, from what we know, what they're going to establish here in the Philippines is it's going to be a form, fill, and finish operations for UCORVAC vaccines. How does that work exactly?
Okay, so the fill and finish means that we're going to import in bulk and then transfer in vials or pre-filled syringes, or sorry, in smaller containers here in the Philippines. But that is the last stage of the development of the vaccine because it means that it's already been finished in other countries. So technically, the whole plan that we're trying to do is not only fill and finish. We wanted to bring in the technology from doing the raw materials, from creating the antigen to formulation of the vaccines, and finally to fill and finish. So because we just have a great demand for the COVID vaccine right now, so that's why the first step is the reverse. It's the last step, which is the fill and finish, is the one we are doing to do first. But in the end, it will be entire manufacturing or production of vaccines locally. So there will be a tech transfer from our partner, which is Biologics of Korea.
Do you have a specific timeline in mind for this one, sir? Or at least give us an idea as well, how many do you think, in terms of capital investment, what budget or at least what figure are you looking at as well?
So we have set aside 7 billion pesos of for this budget for the plant. And it already includes the tech transfer and the manufacturing from raw materials, also including a research and development facilities, because this is very important because pandemic is happening every 10 years now. So as I've said, we had a pandemic in 2009 wherein we did not also have enough vaccines. Uh, so the capacity that we're going to do is about 100 million doses annually. So this can serve our existing population. So that's our plan. So it's an entire vaccine plant from raw materials to finish.
Now, 7 billion pesos for the whole project. Do you think that would suffice at least for you to be able to manufacture vaccines locally at the same time? Do you have the right manpower or enough manpower to actually come up with your own facility?
Yes, initially that is enough. But for the manpower, as Yusek Guevara of DOST said, that they're already making a balikbayan program for these virologists. So that's also a big boost for our vaccine plant. And it's also a big boost for them because now there is a facility where they can do this virology tests and whatever animal tests and research and development that they need to do, because our plant, as I have said, is a complete vaccine plant which includes research and development and also animal testing.
All right. Thank you very much for your time. Again, this is, of course, something that we are going to keep an eye on. Do keep us posted. Thank you very much for your time. Glovax Biotech CEO Giovanni Alingog. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chester.
And those are the biggest stories this trading day, April 2021. Catch Business World live again tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. for the market open and 3:15 p.m. for the market close. I'm Jess Delos Santos. We are One News. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines.